Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 51 of the Overnight Feed Recaps for Big Brother Season 26. A happy Sunday to all of y'all. All right, yesterday we had the veto competition. We got to talk about that. We had a lot of conversations that took place after it as well. So let's get into all of it. First of all, the veto competition itself, we knew playing ahead of time was going to be the HOH Chelsea, the two nominations, Angela and Chemo, only two nominations this time, which meant that they had to draw three people to play in the veto as well. Turns out those three people were McKenzie and Quinn and Rabina. Now, I don't know for sure if their names were drawn, if someone got house guest choice. There's conversation at one point where it seems like Angela maybe drew house guest choice and picked McKenzie. Don't know that for certain. We just don't know yet. But we also had McKenzie, Quinn, and Rabina competing alongside Chelsea and Angela and Chemo for the veto. And it wasn't just any veto competition. It's one of the more iconic ones. Otev. Yeah, they got to play at Otev. I got to play at Otev. I'm so happy I got to do that. They played in Otev yesterday. Feeds cut her noon or so. Feeds cut away. They were gone till 3:30. It was a long, drawn out bit of feeds being cut down. Once the feeds come back, everyone's looking wet, except for T-Core, who didn't compete. Everyone else is looking wet, and it took forever watching this. And when I say forever, I mean probably 15 minutes or so, which seems like forever when you're looking for that veto around someone's neck. But eventually, we do find out that the veto winner, winning Otev, was McKenzie. Yes, McKenzie has won the veto competition. She'd already won a couple of the BBAI arenas. Well, now she's got a veto as well. Not certain that she really wanted to win this one. This is a week of, I didn't really want to win it. Chelsea didn't necessarily want to win her HOH. We hear later that McKenzie maybe didn't really want to win veto, but when she did, the comp beast that she is, she won the competition. And when I say comp beast, I'm being a little sarcastic because apparently they only had one round of Otev because everyone else did horrible and lost on the very first question. We'll talk about that in a second. McKenzie has won the competition. It was the Otev competition, and we don't know what Otev was. Every year, Otev is a different creature, a pig, an armadillo, etc. During my season, Otev was a pigeon. We don't know what Otev was this season. Based on these house guests, as much crying and his baby talk and everything, they should have had Otev the big baby, I think. But we don't know. But Otev was outside, hot as ever. Probably not a bad competition to get to be a part of. Now, remember, for those of you who may not be fully aware, Otev is a musical chairs type competition. Everyone is asked a question. You have to go down a slide through water, find an answer in the form of a chip or a token or something like that. Bring it back up. First round, 6 people, only 5 spots. The last person who shows up is eliminated. You then remove one of the spots. So next time it's 5 people with 4 spots. You go through 5 rounds of that until finally you have one winner. That's the way it's supposed to work. Well, in this case, it doesn't sound like that is the way it worked because everyone showed up after the first question was asked with the wrong answer, except for McKenzie. So everyone got eliminated. Now, I always assumed that if someone had the wrong answer and someone else was standing there, the person who got there last had the right answer, well, then that person with the wrong answer is eliminated. But I always assumed if you had more spots available than you had correct answers, and whoever got it wrong would quickly go back down the slide, try to find the right answer, come back up. You'd still have other rounds. It wasn't the case. Old Otev was just in a mean mood yesterday and said, yeah, y'all are all out here. In fact, we heard that after they all got the question wrong, except for McKenzie, there may have been a statement along the lines of you bleeping idiots, except Otev does not bleep out. That's added in on the later telecast. I heard a few curse words thrown out during my season as well from Otev. So yeah, McKenzie wins by default because everyone else missed the first question. Now that question, what was it? The question apparently was what I heard house guest, but it had to be, I think, what male house guest didn't play in the first HOH competition. Everyone thought it was Tucker because as everyone had been practicing all of these memory days and all that, they had all said that Tucker didn't compete because he didn't have anyone to pair up with. The first task in that HOH was find someone to team up with so you can compete. Well, Tucker didn't have anyone else, so he didn't compete from that point on. But finding someone else to pair up with was round number one of that HOH competition. So he actually did compete in round number one. It was Cedric, the mascot, who didn't compete. And McKenzie was the only person who picked up on that. Everyone else thought it was Tucker. So, yeah, a lot of people later said, it was a trick question, or I didn't hear the question correctly. McKenzie was talking to Chelsea saying, yeah, no, they heard it correctly. They just didn't know the right answer. That doesn't mean they misheard it. And it wasn't a trick question. They just didn't get the question right. So they did have that. Yeah, great studying, guys. Good job with all those hours and hours that went into that. All right, apparently with the comp over so quickly and with it being so hot outside and with Big Brother production desperate for content to put on the show tonight and Wednesday and such, sounds like they let all the house guests go ahead and get onto the Otev slide and slide down into the water and play around and do whatever. And it looks like everyone did that except T-Core. Come on, T-Core, don't be a sad sack. Get in the water too, enjoy it. Now, she didn't do it, but everyone else did. Kind of cool. During my season, none of the competitions when they were over was anyone allowed to go that didn't compete on the vetoes. No one else was allowed to come over and start playing with the equipment or try it out or anything like that. As soon as it was over, yeah, you're inside. You're not going to mess with the props. You're not going to mess with the gameplay, nothing. So they didn't get to do that during our season, but yesterday the comp lasted 5 minutes, and then they had 2.5 hours, I guess, of playing in the water or whatever. So that sounds like a fun way to spend an afternoon. So yeah, that we did have that. Now let's talk about the veto itself real quick before we get into the feeds, because this is supposed to be covering live feeds, right? But it's important to talk about this as well. Will MJ use the veto? Will McKenzie use it? I highly doubt it. She wants Angela gone. She's not talked well about Angela before. She would probably be okay with Chemo gone as well. So I think the only way that McKenzie would use a veto would be if Angela just absolutely begged her to. I don't think Angela's going to want to do that because it means extra blood on her hands. She didn't want this HOH anyway. She just wants it easy. I think this may be a week that we do not see that veto being used. Could be wrong, but I think we're going to see the noms stay where they are right now. All right, let's talk about the feeds that took place after Otev competition. We'll start off with McKenzie and Chelsea. Chelsea's up in the upstairs HOH bathroom, I think showering and such. McKenzie goes up there to do the same thing. They're talking to each other. McKenzie is reporting that Angela tried to play McKenzie during the Otev competition. That when McKenzie first got up to her spot, she didn't try to hide her answer. Angela saw her answer was Cedric, which was correct, as we discovered. But Angela thought that was wrong. Angela thought it was Tucker. And MJ at one point said, I think I got it wrong. And Angela said, no, you're right. You're right. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Well, the reality is Angela thought she was wrong based on her having what she thought was the correct answer of Tucker. And so McKenzie is realizing that Angela tried to play her, tried to make her think that she was right so that she would be eliminated. She's not happy with that. Just one more reason that McKenzie would be absolutely fine seeing Angela head out the door this week. MJ is telling Chelsea that if she does use the veto, then she knows that Chelsea won't have many choices and would have to put someone up that potentially the two of them are close to. So she knows that would put Chelsea in a bit of an awkward situation. But she's saying if she doesn't use a veto, then they have to figure out who they want to send home with the two people are on there, who best benefits their game. And beyond that, also how to get the other person on the block to protect them going forward, to not have a grudge against them as well. So if they're going to keep the noms the same, they got to figure out what they need to say to those people over the next few days. Both of them are agreeing that if Chemo was to stay, they should be safe. They don't think Chemo would come after the two of them. But they're saying, on the other hand, if he goes, that Chemo and T-Core may need people. It may make it easier to pull the two of them in and try to make something happen. So something they've got to hash out and figure out over the next few days. They do mention that Angela is easy to beat whenever. McKenzie says, I get it. We can take her out next week, the week following, and maybe there's something to be said for that. She said, I'm just tired of Angela sliding by every single week. It's time for her to go. I get if she doesn't, but it just seems like it's time for her to go. McKenzie is telling Chelsea, saying, look, I know you're close to T-Core, but just in honesty with you, She says, if I win HOH next week, if Angela is still here, I'm putting up Angela and T-Core. And Angela is going home. If for some reason Angela won veto or something, well, then I'm going to try to get T-Core home. Nothing. I know you're close to her, Chelsea, but that's just what I'm thinking. So she's putting it right out there on the line for Chelsea. Cam enters at one point, and he's asking which way they're going to go this week. He says again he wants to make sure he goes with the House as far as voting and all. So what do Chelsea and McKenzie want to do? McKenzie is pointing out that Chemo was targeting her before this, that Chemo will target her afterwards, will also target Cam as well. So maybe there's something to be said for getting Kim out. McKenzie is saying, because of that, maybe I don't have a preference. I'd love to see Angela gone, but I think Chemo's a threat to us as well. Eventually, Cam says he thinks that the vote's going to come down to Quinn's preference, that whichever way Quinn leans may influence Leah and some other people and probably determine which person goes home. Cam is thinking, I love to see Cam playing some game now. He's starting to step it up some. Cam is thinking that getting Chemo out first is best because he has numbers in T-Core and Rubina that's going to make it only that much harder to get him out later, that maybe we need to pull the trigger while we can because those three are so close. They have done nothing to try to hide how close they are. Now they're going to start paying the price for it, I think. So Cam's saying, well, maybe we ought to get Chemo out now because he's so tight with those two. McKenzie and Chelsea seem to be agreeing with him. They think that's a great point. And by the time this conversation is over, it really seems like Chemo maybe could be the primary target this week and not Angela. All right, McKenzie eventually leaves. We've got Cam and Chelsea complaining about Leah a little bit, that she sketches them out, that they just don't really trust her. Chelsea is talking about the fact that T-Core and Chemo had told her that they had told Cam about, not getting too close to Leah and McKenzie and all that. And that they're thinking that now that he started distancing himself from those two, it's only for perception purposes only, and that there may still be something going on with him and Leah, him and McKenzie. Cam comes back and says, well, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And that's right, especially with Chemo and T-Core and Rubina. They're going to be paranoid and suspicious no matter what. And he's recognizing that even if it's for the best of intentions, people are still going to read in paranoia and suspicion on anything you do in his house. Welcome to Big Brother. All right, we've got T-Core and Cam talking a little bit to each other. T-Core is saying that she feels pretty okay with the way this veto turned out because she's just feeling like McKenzie certainly isn't going to use the veto on Angela, right? Yeah, I don't see that happening at all. So she's feeling pretty good about that because they're both thinking that at the end of the day, probably come Monday, it won't get used at all, which would be their preference. Get out Angela, protect Chemo, and everything is good going forward. All right, we've got Leah and Angela talking a little bit. Angela is telling Leah that she told McKenzie, this is where she says, I asked McKenzie if I picked her, would she play veto for me? Which makes me wonder if maybe she did get house guest choice. Not sure. She says, but as soon as McKenzie won veto, I went to her and said, hey, don't use it on me. I don't want to use it on me. Well, I'm sure McKenzie was glad to hear that because I'm sure she was torn on whether to use it on Angela or not. But Angela says, I told her not to use it on me. I took the pressure off of her by giving her permission not to use the veto on me. And she says she did that because she was worried that if McKenzie did use a veto on her, that then maybe Chelsea would put up someone that would put up McKenzie or Leah. Well, she can't put up McKenzie. McKenzie's a veto holder, but Angela's saying, she would maybe then put up her referencing McKenzie or you, Leah, and I don't want her to do that. So in other words, hey, Leah, I'm making the sacrifice. I'm keeping myself on the block so that you don't potentially go up on the block instead. Now, the reality is, if the veto is used, there is a very good chance that Leah could go on the block. So Angela's got a little, she's onto something when she says that, but yeah, I don't think her giving permission to McKenzie is going to be what makes the difference in whether the veto is used on Angela or not. But she's told Leah that that's the case, that she's told her not to use it. All right, we've got T-Core and Chemo and Quinn talking. Quinn is thinking that Chemo should be good this week. That Angela is the absolute best person to be sitting next to this week. that he should be good to go. They're all feeling pretty positive that McKenzie won't use the veto on Angela. Well, because she has permission not to now, right? Otherwise, and Quinn is saying that Chelsea was just yesterday or just last night. He's saying Chelsea was really hyped on the idea of Angela going home. So I don't know why that would change. It certainly seems like Angela should be the target. And Chemo, you're good. You're absolutely good. Now, what's interesting is later, T-Core and Rubina and Chemo are talking, and T-Core says so much suspicion. T-Core says, I'm a little suspicious of Quinn because when we were up there talking, he said you were good, Chemo, but we specifically said, would you vote to save Chemo come Thursday? And she said, Quinn didn't say yes. He just nodded his head, but he didn't say yes. So maybe he's not being completely honest with us. The paranoia runs so deep in the game of Big Brother. All right, Quinn made Leah a friendship pin, and Leah is very grateful for it. They're talking. She's talking about everyone in the house hates her, so she really appreciates this friendship pin. Welcome to Big Brother Junior High. All right, Leah made chili for everyone. I did hear some jalapenos involved, so sounds like a pretty good little meal. But chili was served to all. We've got no have-nots, so everyone got to participate, courtesy of Leah. Leah's really turned into the cook for this house, right? Much more so than Tucker or Lisa ever was. And there's no glitter involved. So yeah, Leah cooked up chili for everyone, and then they got alcohol. Apparently got a decent amount of alcohol. At one point, Chemo had a bottle of wine hidden in his hoodie. They caught on to it. They all had their fair share of alcohol, it sounds like, which led to the danger of dangers after alcohol, little truth or dare going on. They had a truth or dare game. It eventually led to Chemo licking the floor. It's about as disgusting as it comes. I've walked on that floor. It's not a clean floor in the best of situations. So yeah, Chemo licked the floor, immediately went and washed his mouth out, probably with peroxide or something. Don't do that. I'm not sure that's safe, but he licked the floor. Later, they moved the games into the bathroom. They played a game of kiss, marry, and kill/evict. Another dangerous game to be playing inside the Big Brother house, especially after a little alcohol. But they did that. That led to Quinn very happy because when it was Leah's turn, I don't remember who all her picks were, but I know her marry was to Quinn, which certainly made Quinn happy. Quinn later talked to her, said, "Hey, about this little marriage proposal you made to me." She said, "I'm not really sure that's quite the way it was set up, Quinn." But because of that, everyone else that's in the place tried to convince Quinn and Leah to kiss. Very awkward. Did not work. Quinn turned about as red, blushing, turned about as red as his hair, it seemed like, and Leah very much trying to avoid the whole conversation. So it's just not happening, Quinn. Friendship pin or not, I don't think it's going to happen. All right, earlier, I think this even before they had alcohol, we'd had a little scandal, little breakdowns here and there. Earlier, I think before even alcohol was served, Rubina had told T-Core that she felt Rubina and Chemo were shields for T-Core. T-Core's denying this, saying, "Yeah, we're friends." And Rubina says, "Yeah, well, you can be friends and have us as shields as well. Both can be true at the same time." The whole time she's saying this creepy baby voice thing. Stop with the baby voices inside the Big Brother house. But yeah, she says, we're kind of shields for you, T-Core. And T-Core does not like hearing that at all. Now in the middle of the Truth and Dare competition, and the Marry, Vic, Kill, whatever competition, T-Core heads to the bathroom. She comes out of the stall crying. Rubina's there. She's telling Rubina that she doesn't want Rubina to feel like she's just a shield for T-Core. Rubina saying, "Look, it's inevitable. Yeah, I've been on the block twice, and you haven't been on the block at all. So it's inevitable that there's going to be some feelings like that. It's not a big deal. I just said it, and it's just part of the game." Rubina is saying that even if it isn't T-Core's intention for her to be a shield, she does feel like she is a shield for T-Core. And she says something about, "You got to meet me halfway." And you can say that that's not the way you want to feel, but it is. Meet me halfway and say, "I get it. It may not be intentional, but we still have been a shield for you." T-Core is saying it sounds like Rubina is suggesting that she's purposely using her and Chemo as a shield. And Rubina said, no, I'm not saying that. And eventually Rubina's apologizing about joking about it, about pushing it a little too much and all of that. Eventually Rubina says that even if it was true, she wouldn't mind if T-Core was using the situation, whether intentional or not. She wouldn't mind if T-Core was using the situation to her advantage in order to further the cause. The cause that's bigger than herself. And T-Core says, what cause are you talking about? And Rubina says, well, you know. And I think we all kind of know what she's referencing about there, a cause bigger than oneself and all that. She say, if you're using it for that reason, I'm fine with it. I don't know if she's really fine with it, but she's trying to make some amends here and there. They're moving on from that point, talking about how grateful they are to have each other in the house, how much they've learned, everything else. Later, Chemo is talking to T-Core and saying, look, I don't know exactly what the two of y'all talking. He came in at one point and they said, we're just having a heart to heart. He says, I don't know exactly what y'all are talking about, but maybe don't take anything Rubina said too seriously, considering that there's been some drinking going on this evening. And so don't let it get to you too much. All right, we've got Rubina and Cam talking about Tucker. Rubina basically saying just that she loves Tucker, but doesn't know that she's in love with Tucker, and that the two things are different. And they have some talks about friendships and showmances and things like that in the house. All right, finally, we got a little bit more. MJ and Leah and Quinn talking. McKenzie is complaining that she didn't want to win this veto because now she has to talk to people that she has no sympathy for. She said, one question. I didn't want to win it. I just wanted to try to box some other people out, keep some people from winning it. And she says, but no one else could even get one question right. I win because no one else got a single question correct in the competition. I think she's a little perturbed that she certainly won this thing by default. And she said, now I got to talk to people I got no sympathy for. She said, Angela's been on the block every week. It seems like she's blown up people's games. She's begging people. I don't want to talk to her. She says, Chemo, he would put me up on the block if he had a chance. And, he's doing all this stuff. So I don't want to talk to him. No sympathy for either one of them. But now I got to spend the next day and a half talking to everyone who's going to be begging me for using the veto, not using it. She said, I just didn't have to deal with it. That is what it is. All right, we got T-Core and Rubina and Chemo talking. T-Core's worried. Oh, she's worried because Quinn nodded and didn't actually vocalize yes when asked if he would vote to save Chemo. They're also talking about potentially getting together with Chelsea and maybe trying to bring in McKenzie as well to form some kind of new group, new alliance. They're feeling a little threatened, I think, these three, and thinking they need a couple more numbers here. So trying to work with Chelsea and MJ potentially. Chemo saying he's not sure that Chelsea would come on board with that group if it doesn't include Cam. And T-Core is relating a conversation she'd had with Chelsea 24 hours ago or so, where Chelsea had said, look, I'm not going to put Cam on the block, but if he's up there, I'm not going to go out of my way to protect him either. I'm just not going to make the first move, but I'm not really protecting Cam either. So she's telling Chemo, saying, no, she'll work without Cam. She just doesn't want to proactively get rid of him, but she'll work without him if it comes down to it. All right, we've got Rubina and Leah and Chemo talking late night. Everyone else is in bed at this point, I think. No real game talk. They're looking at the memory wall, talking about house guests, wondering if any of them know each other outside the house, secrets that they might have, secret jobs, things like that. But eventually T-Core, who every night says she's going to bed early, T-Core pops back up out of bed. Now they're in the backyard. They got the backyard back after veto. Amazing how quickly they can clean up Otev or anything else. They've got the backyard back, so she's back in the backyard with Rubina, Lee, and Chemo. Eventually, Quinn is up as well. Just general chit-chat. No game talk worth talking about at this point. And then finally, to round this thing out, we've got T-Core and Chemo talking. I think they're in the bathroom again, talking about Quinn and his willingness to work with T-Core without Chemo as of last week. He had some conversations saying, maybe if Chemo's gone, we could work together and all of this. And so they're a little concerned that he was so willing to work with T-Core and not Chemo. T-Core is saying that putting up Rubina and Chemo that Quinn did wasn't just a move on them, it was a move on her as well, and she's not going to forget that. They want to talk to Quinn about it. They basically want to confront him about this whole willingness to put her people on the block and to work with her and not others. So they're going to talk to him about it. Theoretically, a lot of these late night conversations, there's all kinds of grand plans made by these three, and they never happen. And this could be another one, but they're saying they're going to talk to him about it. And then Rubina comes in Chemo is saying that if Cam had won HOH while Tucker was still in the house, Cam would have put up T-Core and Chemo and Rabina on the block. So again, Chemo may be a little worried about where Cam is in terms of the vote come Thursday, but also just their overall position, all three of these people in the House itself. They think that Cam and Leah are working together. Again, they had told Chelsea earlier they thought that Cam was just trying to distance himself from Leah just for perception. It wasn't real. So sure enough, they're thinking that Cam and Leah are still working together. They're worried about Leah and Quinn potentially working together and pulling in McKenzie as well. So basically, anyone whose name isn't T-Core or Rabina or Chemo is potentially working against us. So they're worried about Leah and Quinn pulling in McKenzie. T-Core saying that they need to get closer to McKenzie and Cam and Quinn so that they can pull them in, and then they can divide and conquer as necessary to protect their game going forward. T-Core saying they each need to go out and try to find one other person to pull over to their side. They're kind of accessory side pieces that we've seen in a lot of these past seasons. They're talking about who would be the biggest threat between Quinn and Leah and Angela. They've basically decided, Leah, that Angela and Quinn don't have anyone else to work with, but Leah's got a lot of folks that she potentially could fall back on to support her and all that. So they're thinking that Leah's the most dangerous person to have in the house. And they'd like to see her gone maybe this week, but they don't think they could convince Chelsea to put Leah up on the block this week. So instead, they want to try to convince Chelsea to put up Quinn on the block this week. Now, that assumes that the veto is going to get used, so they're going to have to talk to McKenzie as well. But if they can get the veto to be used, they want to try to convince Chelsea to put up Quinn and not Leah, with the idea then being that it should be easy to get Quinn out and protect Chemo at that point in time. Seems like a little bit tougher than they're acting like it is to make all of this happen. But again, 3 o'clock in the morning, grand plans may or may not ever actually get started. And with that, 4 o'clock in the morning, an early evening for these house guests. 4 o'clock in the morning, finally everyone gets in bed. So there you have it, guys. The end result, McKenzie's got the veto. I don't think she's going to use it. Still a lot of play going on between Chemo and Angela at that point about who's going to go home on Thursday. I think when it comes right down to it, from a personal standpoint, most people would prefer to see Angela gone, but maybe there's some people that are seeing Chemo as a bigger strategic threat that maybe needs to go along. They're fulfilling Quinn's concern that once we get to jury, Angela's just going to keep sliding and sliding and sliding because she doesn't seem like that big a threat compared to other people on the block. Sometime, who knows? She may make it to the very end. I think at some point her luck's going to run out, but it may not be this week. We will find out. Guys, have a great rest of your Sunday. I will be back tomorrow morning to give you an update on all kinds of talk and conspiracy and everything else that's going to be happening today in preparation for the veto ceremony tomorrow. So have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.